Most of you know I'm Tracy Themes. I don't see maybe a couple unfamiliar faces, and I am co-founder and now the primary financial advisor for Sophia Financial Group. Have two of the people from our team here. We've got Tiffany here in the back, and yay, Tiffany! Woo! And Mila, who you all met on your way in. And today, I think this is where Sophia demonstrates its oddness. That to have a Neuropath Reset workshop, people might say, what the heck does this have to do with finances and with the capital markets and with the economy? And what most of you know is that from the moment we opened our doors here, Kamal and I understood and experienced the complexity of what money actually is to people. And that it's not just whether you're doing a REIT or you're doing an ETF. It's not a matter of what is the interest rate on my investment and am I being taxed at dividends. On a daily, moment-to-moment basis, we are interacting with the energy of money. And to not understand that means that in some way you're handicapped from being fully empowered to work and live and be in this world. Because this is a world now where the currency of money is the primary currency of power. So for us, who identify as passionate about economic equality, passionate about inclusivity, and passionate about how money can be used for the greater good, we need to look at it from a variety of different perspectives. And as soon as we do that, we tend to find out that we're screwed up. I have rarely met somebody very peaceful or grounded or with the ability to use the energy of money productively, joyfully, and to their own greater good and to the greater good of those around them. It's just a rarity. But it is the goal. The goal of the Sophia community is to create a foundation, create the support for all of us to not just master that energy in our personal life, but so we can go out and be better humans. We can go out and be more peaceful humans, and we can use that energy to be part of something that is greater than ourselves. That's the goal. So there we go. So today, one of the things that impedes us sometimes in the goal is the fact that we're screwed up. So I don't think Mihael would agree. He wouldn't want me to use that term. But by screwed up, I just mean we have resistances. We have biases. We have unexpressed needs. We have prejudices. We have indoctrinations. We have socio-cultural influences that we're often unaware of. And some of those things can really get in the way of the fullest expression for us of who we are. And I just actually think we're all here to be the best expression of ourselves. I'm not supposed to be you, you're not supposed to be her, none of us are supposed to be Mihael. That's only one of you, for sure. But we're on the path that we're trying to do is first the removal of obstacles and resistances so that we can then find the space to be ourselves. That's ultimately where I think the greatest light comes from. So today, one of the gifts that Sophia is offering to the community is Mihael. He's a gift to me, and he's a gift, in my opinion, to our world and to the community that we are living in. I've known Mihael now for a very long time. I actually originally met him at a wellness fair, which I was attending with a close friend of mine who had just had a radical mastectomy and was in really rough shape. And it was just one of her first days out in 2 or 3 months. And as we were moving our way through the booths that different practitioners were offering, Mihael had set up his business at that point, his new business, Angel Hands. And they were offering, 10-minute sessions of this and 10-minute sessions of that. And so we grabbed one with Mihael. And after having worked with him for 10 minutes, both of us looked at each other and went, wow, he's a healer. And it was the only person out of all those hundreds and hundreds of people that we could actually feel the difference. So I think I reached out to him, and we've been both we have been professionally and personally intertwined for many years. So Mihael Mamychshvili.
Good job.
Mihael Mamychshvili, I'm just going to keep saying that now.
Yes.
Mr. Mamychshvili
Thank you.
is a registered shiatsu therapist, and he's the creator of the Neuropath reset method and therapy. He's a mind-body coach. And what I have come to appreciate about Mihael is that he's brought in his experience as I will have to say, as a citizen of the international community. That Mihael himself, familially, but also in the people that he attracts to him, has, I think, a really good sense and a great deal of embodied experience with those that have lived through very difficult situations, traumas, and whose body is holding on to those. And his, really, I would say your life work is understanding that and helping us all unwind those things, so that on our path of living, that we can at least start to work with those resistances. Today will be fairly experiential in nature, which is why we were so clear about how many people we could have and having enough room in here to work with Mihael. But I feel that it is a real gift to this community, and I feel blessed to know Mihael, to have worked with Mihael, and to have him here today. And it's with the greatest heart and with a huge welcome that I want to say thank you, Mihael. We look forward to the workshop. Okay. All right.
Thank you. What Tracy forgot to mention, because today I was thinking, oh my God, we met at this fair so many years ago, and look where we've come to. You know, we've been through so much together. And the one thing that happened in that day that we met that was so interesting for me and memorable was as I was working on Tracy, and God bless Tracy, she's a special, special person and very intuitive woman. And as I was working on her, I got the sense that I've known her for many, many years, maybe even centuries. I had one of those deja vu feelings, like I met this person, we've done things together, and I don't usually say it out loud, but at that moment I did say it out loud. I feel like I met you before, and I feel like we're supposed to do all this work together. And God bless her, she looks at me wide-eyed, and she goes, I feel the same thing. And the rest is history. Yeah. Well, thank you all for coming and taking the time out of your busy days to come and be with me. Thank you, Tracy, for allowing me this opportunity. Really what I'm about is facilitating change. People come to me, what they want at the end of the day is change. And what they want to change is their lives, their health, sometimes even their relationships, their careers. And usually they come to me with a list of issues. The physical, the mental, the emotional, and sometimes even spiritual. And because of my vast life experiences and professional experiences, now working over 15,000 people, I've seen everything pretty much. Nothing ever surprises me anymore. And the common thing that I've seen is people just lack the tools. I always say it's not what happens to us, it's the volume that it creates and the lack of tools to deal with it. That's at the end of the day, that's what it is. And if you think about your life from beginning to now, what is life? What is life? What is your life been like? Good. Experiences. What else?
Trauma.
Trauma is an experience.
Yeah.
Right?
A very different kind of experience.
Exactly.
Feelings.
Feelings.
Memories.
Memories. Good.
Birth and death. Birth and death.
Birth and death. Another experience.
Relationships.
Connection.
Relation.
Feelings, connection, and sounds. Right? Sounds also. There's a soundtrack to your life. It's weaved together through experiences. What also dictates how you respond to those experiences is the way we adapt. So we are a creature that can adapt to anything, any condition, any pain, any suffering. We can adapt and even feel good about it on some level. So we are masters in adaptation. So at the end of the day, we come with nothing and we live with nothing, and all we have is experiences, memories, feelings, connection, and sound. Right? Now, the problem is, and this is what I see over and over again, there's always the lack of tools to deal with the sound or the volume. So we got volume, and interpretation. Some people struggle with the volume and the interpretation that it creates. Right? And this is what we adapt to. This is what we deal with all the time. And we do our best. Some of us are great managers. Who is a manager as their profession here? Who has heard this word? So you're such a good manager.
None of us.
You're doing such a great job. You're such a great friend. You're such a great sister. You're such a great woman. Thank you so much. I feel so much better spending time with you. Right? Some of you have heard that since you were kids. Right? So some of us are really good managers. Some of us are really good fighters. Some of us are really good escape artists. And really, that's how we operate. That's how we adapt. Who heard of the fight, flight, or freeze states?
Yeah.
So what will be a fight? What will be a fight state?
Aggressive reaction.
Sorry?
Aggressivity.
Aggressivity. Are you Russian?
Yes, I am.
Ah, привет. So fight. Can you see this? No. Sorry.
I'll do it, Mihael. We'll see if the red works.
Yeah, the red works. Better? So aggressive. What else?
Abuse.
Abuse. Why would you say that?
Well, because there's an implicit aggressiveness in abuse.
Okay, we can add that here. Vigilance. Right? What?
Just like addressing something directly.
Like debate or
Yeah.
or criticism.
Pushing back.
Pushing back, yeah. Good. What else?
Resistance.
When you feel like you're in that state, what happens?
Fire. Very defensive. Yeah. Hot.
Heat. How's your heart rate?
Up.
What else?
Stress.
Anger.
Anger, good. Irritation? Agitation? Right? Anything else? Yeah, put yourself in that state. You're fighting.
Nausea. Adrenaline.
Adrenaline. Good, good.
My muscles tense up.
Good.
Your blood pressure goes up, of course.
Yes.
The focus narrows too. Focus, what you can focus on.
Good.
Narrows your vision
Yeah,
narrows.
yeah.
Tunnel vision.
Sometimes there's recklessness.
Good. Who identifies with the state?
Oh, up in there.
Who defaults to the state habitually?
Women.
No, here. Not men, women. I'm speaking about here, the people here. Who defaults? Who tends to default to the state?
Situational dependent, like depends on the situation, but sometimes.
Okay.
And some of that could also be with the freeze. You feel all that internal stuff, but you're not expressing it outwardly.
Yeah, we'll come to the
Yeah,
freeze.
the states overlap.
Yeah, the states can oscillate. We can oscillate between the states, but we tend to habitually turn to one. If we honestly reflect with ourselves, we habitually turn to one more so than the other. Of course, a situation, a tiger is after you, you're going to run, right? So sometimes we can oscillate, but habitually in life, we are comfortable with one. Okay? So today I want you to identify, through the experiences that we're going to have today, what you habitually tend to default into. Okay? So what would be the opposite, the flight? Fear, yeah. So you're just starting to feel that inside. What initially happens before even fear? Anxiety. Worry?
Vigilance.
Also vigilance, that's right. So fear will come in, and with fear, vigilance. Different kind than the fight. Anything else? Not quite. You're just managing this. It usually starts with worry or anxiety. Right away it comes in. Right?
Breathing starts increasing.
Decreasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Avoidance.
Very good. You sound like you know that really well.
I mean, yeah, okay.
Anything else?
Just like you're leaving, like you're not present.
So what would that be called?
Taking flight.
Yeah, we can call not present.
Escape. Yeah, ungrounded.
Detached? Not quite disassociated, but detached, right?
Escapism.
Escapism, yeah.
Is that independent of avoidance? Because of escapism is a...
Escapism can come in all kinds of very sophisticated ways. Very, very sophisticated ways. I was one. I was an escape artist. So it can come in many, many ways.
Substitution.
Substitution?
Like replacing one activity with another. If something's anxiety provoking, go to zone out in the front of the TV or something.
Okay.
This is up there.
Who can relate to this? Who defaults to this? Okay. Good. Cortisol levels go up. Back starts to ache. The knees buckle. Sweaty palms. Coldness comes in. If that sounds familiar, those symptoms, you're in a flight state. Okay? If you have coldness in the abdomen, coldness in the hands, coldness in the feet, it's chronic. It cuts the circulation down. Okay? So now a freeze state. What's a freeze state?
Something beyond anxiety.
That's right. So what would that be?
Lack of action.
So think about those. Okay, so freeze is really a state of overwhelm.
Numbness.
Good.
A disbelief, is this happening, can I trust can I trust my interpretation of what I'm feeling?
So lack of trust.
Yeah.
Dissociation.
Paralysis.
Sorry, this pen's, I'm breaking them down. It must be very powerful, but. Anything else?
No breath.
Well, no breath, you're going to die.
You're like holding your breath.
Holding your breath.
Breathlessness at times. Panic attack. Who had a panic attack? Panic. Negative thought patterns. Constant negativity. Depression.
Anxiety.
Darkness.
Anxiety.
Anxiety is not here.
Absolutely does fit there. I know, trust me, I do know.
Okay.
Anxiety is part of freeze.
Burnout. Isolation.
Maybe sadness.
Sadness.
Procrastination.
More. I would say conservation of self. So if you or someone you love, suddenly you don't hear from them, you don't see them, they're not answering your phone calls, they are in a freeze state. You know, we all have been there at some points. If you haven't, it will come. It's just unavoidable. We all have been and will be at this place. And it's a thin line. It's a thin line because, again, we can fight, we can run away so far. But at some point, the running will tire us out, and the fighting will be too much. So I call it the Joan of Arc syndrome. And the reason is I've seen this phenomena so many times in my office where when I look at someone, I can see two people living inside. The fighter and the escape artist. And it actually looks in the body like as if somebody's carrying a sword on one side and a shield on the other. How I came to see it and realize it, early on in my practice, I worked a lot with frozen shoulders. And actually, I was quite fortunate. A writer who had a frozen shoulder, I've helped her, and as a show of gratitude, she decided to write a story about her experience with me. And it was published in a local newspaper, so everybody with a frozen shoulder called me. I thought I made it. What I didn't know is what I got myself into, because I wasn't that experienced when I was starting out, but I was sure of myself and a little bit lucky helping this woman so quickly, and her having put me up in the news. But when I started to have the influx of frozen shoulders, wow, it was very difficult, because really there's no treatment for a frozen shoulder. traditional methods that I used to treat frozen shoulders include injections, very strong manipulation, trying to unfreeze it, and worst case scenario, anesthesia, and then forcefully adjusting the shoulder while the person is out. And physio is not very successful with it. So people can live with a frozen shoulder for years. And after having so many of them come through my door, I started to notice patterns, because one of my gifts is noticing patterns, understanding patterns. And I've seen so many people, again, I have a certain amount of data, and pattern recognition is one of my gifts. So one of the first things that was really obvious to me, if 10 people came to me with a frozen shoulder, 9 of them will have it on the left side. And it didn't matter if it was a man or a woman, or if they were right-handed or left-handed. And only 1 out of 10 will have it on the right side. So that got me thinking and researching. And through trial and error, I discovered that a frozen shoulder is really not frozen. What's really frozen is the nervous system. And eventually it affects the tissues, the tendons, the ligaments, and the capsule adheres. But the person is really in a freeze state, because I started to listen to their stories and what's going on in their lives, or what happened in the past. And there was always some form of trauma. Or really, they reached that point where they were just breaking down. Running away wasn't helping, and fighting wasn't helping anymore. They reached that freeze state. So why the left? Anybody has any idea? Why? Very good. The heart. What's the most, in a way, the heart represents the most vulnerable part of a human being. And when we have an underlying command, or even a subconscious command to protect ourselves, the first part that will be protected is your heart. And what protects it initially is a sac that surrounds it. It's called the pericardium. So right now, I would say 95% of you have this going on. And you're just not aware of it. Because we adapt so well, we become unaware. It just becomes the norm until you become aware. And today, I'm going to take you through a few experiences to start becoming more aware and using some tools. Okay? Sounds good? Yeah. The person that had it on the right side was always very interesting. Why this person, 1 out of 10, has it on the right side? And they were the fighters, the people that are willing to go through walls. And they love a challenge. And nothing will be in their way. So they're willing to push through. They're like soldiers, type A personalities. Who's a type A personality here?
What does it mean?
Type A personality is a high achiever. There's no is not an answer. There's always a yes. I can do anything. I can get through anything. Nothing bothers me. I'll take more on my shoulders. I'll take the whole community on my shoulders.
Right, we were very kind about that.
Yes. So some of us can recognize ourselves, right? But I would say the sword eventually gets tired.
Yeah.
You can only fight through so much.
Yeah.
How many of you live expecting something bad to happen just around the corner? Life can be like that. So if one part of us is shielding and one part of us is fighting, wouldn't that be exhausting? Right?
Very exhausting.
That'll be exhausting. Life is full of battles, yes?
Yes.
And sometimes even wars, yes? And we get wounded, yes? The problem is that becomes the norm. It becomes difficult, hard. And we wait for that time in our lives. How many people I had come to me, I don't understand what's going on. I've just retired. Everything is great. My money is great. My relationships are great. Everything is great. Why all of this is happening? Oh, I just changed careers. I chose the path of my dreams. Everything is great. Why all of this I just met the man of my dream or the woman of my dream. Everything is great. I'm finally in love. Why all of this is happening? Usually, in a time of peace, the consequences of your wars come up. The consequences of our battles will rise up. Because if we are in a battle, if we are in a war, and life is unpredictable, full of challenges, you need an army, right? Who is your army? This. Who is the commander-in-chief? That's right. And the commander-in-chief continues to send the army into battles and wars all the time. What will happen with time?
It'll wear out.
Bingo. What else?
Wear out everybody else.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, you all experience it. In a family, it's always a drama. I have a family like that. It's constant drama. It's very exhausting. It's always a war. There's always something going on, you know? That's why I chose the path of the healer. Like, I want to have a different scenario. Right?
Is that a flight? Sorry, I'm just having fun.
So it can be exhausting. It's exhausting for others. There are consequences. There's pain. There's deterioration. There's disease. And eventually, if the commander-in-chief or the queen or the king, whatever metaphor you want to use, does not respect the army, does not bring peace and harmony to the army will do what?
Revolt.
The body goes against self. The body will attack you. There's no such thing as a heart attack. There's no such thing as a heart attack. The heart does not attack you. The body is not attacking you. The body has just had enough of you attacking it. So this is where we have to have that awareness and also accountability. And our tendency, because we are busy with fighting or running away, is to disassociate ourselves from the army, from the body. And I always said, this is the most reliable aspect of you, the most loyal aspect of you, and you abandon it. You don't want to do anything with it. You don't like it. You don't like the way it looks. You don't like the way it operates. You're very critical of it. But this is the most loyal aspect of you. It's not the mind. And they're not your feelings too. They're not reliable. So, but we default to the mind and to our feelings and forget the body. Like it's dumb as a doorknob. It doesn't know anything. Right? And that's where all the wisdom is. When you have a question in your life that you want a yes or no, you have to ask the body. It always knows. It's either yes or no. There's no maybes. If you are wondering if this person is right for you or wrong for you, you don't ask the mind. It's unreliable. And you don't ask your feelings. They're unreliable too. There's evidence for that. The answer is always in the body. Right or wrong? Yes or no? Left or right? Good for me, not good for me. Simple.
Yeah, but your feelings do tell you that. They do. I mean, feelings, sensations.
Are you talking about emotions?
Yeah.
Or you're talking about
I'm
sensations?
talking about both.
Emotions are not always reliable. Sensations are more reliable.
That's true. I
Yeah.
agree. But also, emotions do tell us the truth. I would say most of the time they do tell us what's going on. Because if I'm feeling fear in my body, fear is an emotion. I'm feeling fear because of the sensations in my body. So it's a very reliable thing. In general, that is a reliable thing.
Not always. Not always, because fear,
But sensations also produce emotion. So
yeah, I mean, we can go round and round and round about, but in my experience, fear distorts perception. So you can, well, that's a good point, because it takes me to this point, you know. You can always build a platform on fear. Fear has been with us since the beginning of time. It's our enemy most of the time. It's like, you know, when you look out of the window and there's a scary person standing right in front of the window, and you bring the blinds down, open. With time, the person goes away, you open the blinds, the person is still there. Then you think you'll be smarter, and you buy some curtains over the blinds, put the blinds down, the curtains down, hoping that with time the person will go away, and the person is still there. So then you're thinking, okay, I will build a fence outside with a nice gate that I can lock, and then I'll lock it, blinds down, curtain up, and the person won't come back. But the person is still there. Then you're thinking, okay, I'm going to get a German Shepherd, put it outside, do all the security, and the person will go away. The person is still there. You put cameras, infrared, motion detectors, the person is still there. And that is fear. Fear is always there. The trickery is we create all these defenses around it to prevent fear. But the more defenses you build, the more vigilant fear becomes. And eventually what you're building is a prison. So you can be living in a castle, feeling like a prison. And that's because of fear. And we can build a whole architecture around fear. Fear is always, in my experience, come from lack, which are created really by our traumas. And when you have lack and you have fears, you have control mechanisms. And you can build an empire on this. Some do. And you can call it a success. But there's a cost to this. The cost is always in the things that are most important. Right? What's most important? What's most important in life?
Close relationship.
Freedom. Joy.
connection to the body.
Health. So you can build an operative system around those three building blocks, but they'll come at a cost. And I've seen that over and over again. And it creates a nervous system. It creates pathways, commands, belief system, And in a way, perception and a reality. These days, and it drives me crazy, you can argue anything. You can find a point, a truth. You can find the complete opposite to it. It goes from what you should eat, who you should vote for, what is the truth. You can argue for everything. But this will dictate your perception and therefore your reality. And the thing with fears, and I love working with fears. I used to hate fears. I was an escape artist, right? I was really good at numbing myself, running away, busying myself, even once realizing just because I'm helping others, that could be because I'm afraid of something. Sometimes one of our ways to escape from ourselves is to be involved too much with others' lives, helping others. How many of you do that? So fears are tricky, but I would suggest instead of being afraid of that person outside the window that never goes away, maybe you should invite him in. Sit him down. Like an unwanted guest, maybe you should invite fear in and start to converse with your fears. Like, why are you here? When did you start? What is the reason that you exist? What are you here to teach me? And listen. Listen very carefully, because in my experience, fear is a great teacher. You can't get rid of it, might as well learn something from it. Because it's been with you since the moment you came to this earth from your mother's womb, even while you're in the mother's womb, and it's going to be with you the moment that you're going to live this place and transition somewhere else. So it's walking with you all the time. If you want to acknowledge it or not, it's there. So might as well learn how to work with it, because it's a great teacher. Okay? Now, how does fear affect us? It affects us in many ways. It's full of trickery. But you must find the evidence when it's around, because it's not always clear that fear is around. But every time that you experience resistance to anything that you know that you must do, fear is there. Every time you have fatigue around. Let's do this. Oh, I'm tired. Let's go and try this thing. I'm tired. I don't really feel like it. Fatigue could be a symptom of fear.
How about boredom? Is that
Boredom. That's interesting. Yep. Boredom could be resistance, right? It could be just boredom. This is why you have to examine your fears very closely, right? Pain. How many of you struggle with chronic pain? Or struggled in the past? Most likely, 99% of the time, a big part of your chronic pain is fear. Okay? Fear also creates inflammation. If you feel like you're retaining fluid, if you feel that you have brain fog, joint pain, those are signs of also inflammation. And where there's fear, there's inflammation. Okay? You're always dealing with fear. Every time you find yourself negative,
Procrastination.
yeah, resistance, right? Anything else? Avoidance, right? Sometimes busyness, I call it. You know, constantly keeping yourself busy, like a circus performer. You know, spinning 5 plates at the same time, the whole time afraid the crowd might notice you'll drop a plate. Right? We can live like that. Like I call it the performance, right? Right? So fear can show up in all those ways and much more. Right? So how do we deal with fear? How do we learn from fear and start to utilize tools to overcome?
Face it head on.
Sorry?
Face it head on.
Good. I call it the 5 A's. The first thing is the awareness. Instead of having the person stand outside the window, bring them in. What are my fears? Anybody has taken the time to list your fears down? Anybody has done this? Yes? But not many. Why not?
Awareness. Well, you have to be aware to do this.
That's the beginning. Exactly. Then this is what I would suggest when you go home today. List your fears. Make a list. Bring your enemies into the dining table. Dine them, wine them. Converse with them. Understand their role, their history. Okay? And once you do that, accountability. You know, because a sense of lack that comes from pain and trauma creates all these fears, that create all these control mechanisms that are really unsustainable, create so much stress. You know, really come from a desire to have control over things. But there's a sustainable way of achieving that. A more harmonious way of achieving control, power. Right? And that comes from being aware, throwing accountability on what you can control, accountability on the role in the story of your life, and then move into action, even if it's a little bit. Even if it's a tiny bit of action, create some kind of action towards the change that you want. And then you just assess the action. Is it working for me or is it not? If it's not working for me, I'll create a different action until I find what works for me, and then I assimilate it to my life. I make it a habit, a way of being. Some people have a lot of awareness but lack action. Some people are full of action but lack awareness. Very few are accountable. Okay? So these are the steps. So I'll take you through, fear, stress, and the blockages that create what it stirs up inside of us is unavoidable. We are all triggered. We will be triggered at some point, and I've worked with all of them, priests and holy people and yogis and shamans and you name them. We all have issues and we can all be triggered, and life can be very humbling. Life is very humbling, and once you're humbled, to live with humility is everything. And life is also fragile. So taking that into account, you cling to what's important, because at any moment, something can happen. Okay? So it's just a matter of tools. What to do when we are triggered. So the first one is, I call it cooling the circuits. Because many of us live so much here, there's so much mental stress, overstimulation, that again, we will default to either running away or managing. Yeah, I can manage this, let's do it. Let's go for it, let's do this again. Let's do it tomorrow, and fight. But again, we don't want to achieve that overwhelmed state where things will start to break down. So catching yourself when your nervous system is aroused, right? When your nervous system is nice and balanced, it looks like a nice wave like this. They call it the alpha waves. This is where the flow state, when you feel connected to things, connected to yourself, everything is going smooth, like riding your car on a beautiful road, right? And you feel like, Ideally, we want to feel that all the time. But life is such that you're going to be triggered and you're going to be aroused. And this is where you default to one of those two states, either flight or fight. So by the end of tonight, know which one you default to, okay? And recognize it based on the symptoms of each state. What you don't want is another trigger comes in, you manage it, and this is where you can freeze, right? So you want to catch yourself somewhere here. I always say it's not being trigger proof, it's knowing how to bring yourself back as quickly as possible. It's not avoiding pain, suffering, or depression. It's knowing how to recover as quickly as possible. Come back, come back, come back. That's the training. That's the process. You constantly are coming back to this state. That's the priority. So cooling the circuits. It's quite simple. And it works. So if you're in an anxious state, a panic state, you're starting to get that panic attack even, this will undo it. Okay? So let's sit back. Relax your arms. So this takes only between 5 to 7 or 8 minutes. You can change your state in 5 minutes. And that's a lot of what I do with clients, is show them that change can come with ease. Change does not need to be so goddamn difficult. The only difficult part, I always say, nothing is wrong with you. You're just disorganized. You're not screwed up. I can see you in class. I just caught that little girl in class, yeah. So nothing is wrong with you. You're just disorganized, a little lost, and out of touch. So all we have to do is create some order, bring you in touch with yourself, connect with yourself, bring some peace and harmony, and things will work out. And that's what I do with everyone, you know. And it doesn't have to be so goddamn difficult, too. The only difficult part is you. It's really you, because there's a part of you that will resist. And I call my clients when they come in. I tell them from the beginning, oh, they come to me with a list. This is what we want. I want this. I want that. I said, no problem. But there's one problem only. And they said, what's the problem? I'll do anything, whatever it takes. The problem is you. So taking that awareness and accountability into account and saying, okay, the only thing that is in my way is me. So I got to illuminate my shadow and learn the tools to know when it takes over and to bring myself back. Okay? So this is the tool. It's quite simple. It takes 5 to 8 minutes, and it's a breathing method initially, and it's an in through the nose to the back of the head, and out through the mouth as if you're blowing through a straw. So let's do that for the next 5 minutes. In through the nose, and out through the mouth. Relax your arms. In through the nose, and out through the mouth, as if a straw is right on your lips. In through the nose, and out through the mouth. In through the nose, and out through the mouth. Do not allow distraction to come in. In through the nose, and out through the mouth. As if you're blowing through your favorite straw. Really purse those lips. In through the nose, and out through the mouth. And as you continue in this way of breathing, pay attention to the body now, the whole body. In through the nose, and out through the mouth. In through the nose, and out through the mouth. In through the nose, and out through the mouth. And don't be distracted. In through the nose. Bring yourself back to the breath. Breath and body. Good. All of us in harmony. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Here you're changing the blood flow in the brain. You're moving the blood from your limbic system to your frontal cortex. From the animalistic part of you to the logical, the common sense part of you. From the part that hijacks you and the part that gives you control. So recirculate that blood flow. Even visualize it going from the back of the brain to the front of your brain, even to the face. In and out. In and out. In and out. In and out. Really purse those lips. In and out. You're doing great. Keep going. In and out. In. We're going to do 5 more. And out. In and out. In and out. in, and out. One more, in, and out. Keep your awareness in. Keep it in. Scan your body. And we're going to reorient ourselves back using our senses. So initially, pick up 5 sensations in your body. Notice 5 sensations in your body. 1. Okay. Now that you pick those 5 sensations, 4 sounds. Pick up 4 sounds. Good. And now open your eyes slowly. Notice 3 things in the room. Notice 3 things in the room. Once you pick those 3 things, see if you can pick up 2 smells. And if you can't, imagine a smell. And once you finish with that, say one good thing about yourself out loud. I am. So that's cooling the circuits. How do we feel? I see a lot more smiles, yeah. And that only took 5 minutes, right? So this is changing the state. Once we aroused, you take 5 minutes, do this breathing method, you change the blood flow. It goes from the back. How many of you feel tension in the head, your eyes hurt, tension in the jaw? Throughout the day, you're in a stress mode. Your circuits are humming. And this will bring you back to feeling more connected, more integrated with yourself. Okay? Now, if that doesn't work and you still feel stressed, I want you to find this breastbone, this flat bone right where the ribs connect, and go down with your fingers and notice if you found a painful spot. Anywhere there. If you did find one, just down the center, sore spot, painful, achy. If you all found it, collect those 3 fingers, middle fingers, tap on it very gently, not so hard. Don't be harder on yourself. Gently, gently, good. Gently, gently, like really little taps like that, and then go up the bone, and then come down to it, and up again, and come down to it, and one more time, go up, and now come down to it and focus on it until your body elicits one of 3 responses, either a sigh, a yawn, or a smile. Yeah. And it will happen, one of those 3. The rare time there'll be a cough. But it's always a yawn, a smile. Oh, what did I say? A yawn, a smile. A sigh. Thank you. And once in a while a cough. And why is that? At that moment, that sac that surrounds your heart, that is really tight around the heart, relaxes. You know that feeling? My chest relaxed. And actually the shoulders will also go back. The throat will relax and even the jaw will relax with it. So remember that, okay? Once you've come to this new state, realign yourself. What does that mean? realign. It's one of my principles that I work with. Again, it goes back to the frozen shoulders, seeing patterns. The way you hold yourself tells me the whole story of your life. Again, you don't need to tell me anything. All I need to do is look at you and I will tell you a story. And the reason is we always give out information. If we are aware of it or not aware of it, you're giving out information. Your voice, your posture. And it shows me also which state you can default into and how you've adapted to your fears, your sense of lack, your pain, your traumas. So this is our armoring, our adaptation. So at some point when we want change, we want to let go of some things. And we want to start something new. So the first thing that you can control, because again, back to wanting control and power. And it's really good to do it after this little exercise that I gave you, is learn how to align yourself differently. I call it embodying your tiger or your tigress. Why the tiger and why the tigress? Because in the animal kingdom, to me, first of all, I used to have a recurring dream. And I was going to play you the music, maybe at the end. I will play you this music of a tiger. But I used to have a recurring dream. And I was in a jungle, and a tiger was prowling in the dark. And I'm in the jungle alone. And it would terrify me. I would wake up, I would be terrified. Until I shared that dream with someone quite wise, and he asked me one question. Is the tiger ever ate you? And I said, no. Did he ever attack you? I said, no. So really, you're afraid of your power. Of your power. And he was right. He actually made me cry. He was a stranger too. Because at that time I was struggling with owning my power. So on another time in my life, there was a woman that looked at me and said, why do you stand the way that you stand? And this used to be Mihael. I thought this was really cool. But what I came to realize, that was so flaky.
They tell you that's a power stance.
No.
They don't.
This is really me. Look where I'm leaning. Where am I going? Left. What's in the left? Am I ready to run away? Well, I'm ready to run away. Right? And I thought if I put my hands here, somehow that will help me. So when she said, why do you stand the way that you stand? I said, what do you mean? This is pretty cool, no? Well, have you ever asked yourself why you stand this way? And being the curious being that I am, I really sat down and asked myself, why the hell do you stand this way? And that's how I came about this. And then when I started to notice, alignments in the first thing that I do when people is I have them stand in front of me. I want to look at you. I want to see all of you. And then I don't care what you tell me, because all I'm focused about is what the body tells me, because the body always tells the truth. Always. It never lies. It always tells the truth. So the first thing that you can change when you want change is the way you hold yourself. And embodying the tiger or the tigress, to me, it's an animal with grace. But grace that also comes from power. When a tiger walks, how does a tiger walk?
Slow. With intention.
With ease. Is the tiger afraid of anything? So why does he have to be cautious? With ease. When the monkeys throw coconuts on the tiger, does the tiger even look up? No. Silly monkeys. Who are the monkeys in your life that are throwing coconuts at you? Right? Does the tiger even bother with monkeys? No. when somebody tries to aggravate the tiger, how many people in your life, the ones that are triggering you, aggravating you, right? You know who they are. When an animal tries to aggravate a tiger, all a tiger has to do is look at the animal and say, "You're crazy, I'm a tiger." The only time a tiger or a tigress exerts herself is when she plays, when she eats, and when she mates. The rest of the time, relaxed, at peace, prowling through life, doesn't care about the monkeys, not the hyenas, not the snakes, no one. And a tiger or a tigress can only be with a tiger and a tigress. So it's the concept that ease brings about power. You can have that duality inside of you. I'm at ease, and because of it, I have control and power. If I'm clenching, this is what I see all the time. People walking around clenching all the time, not knowing that they're clenching. They're clenching even at night for dear life. And how do I know? If you look at your fingers, are they curling? So that means that you're clenching even while you're sleeping. And just have them in a resting position. Don't flex them. Put them on your palm. If they're curving in, you're clenching when you're sleeping. So we can live life clenching for dear life, thinking this is normal. And actually being completely oblivious to the fact that you're doing this. And that affects your nervous system, and that will affect your organs and your structure. So come, let's all get up. So this is people that, when we clench, our nerves clench. And when the nerves clench, this is what happens from the back. If you find yourself always tilting to the front, you're clenching through your glutes, through the hips, through the hamstrings, right into the feet. Even the feet will clench. If you're clenching and needing to protect yourself, this is what you're going to look like to me. Exactly. If you're clenching and needing to fight, this is what you're going to look on the right. If you're clenching and tired of fighting and overwhelmed, this is what you're going to look like eventually. Concaved in. And how many people like that you see on the streets? And it doesn't matter what age, not with age anymore. Okay? So the first thing we have to be is aware of how we hold ourselves. Because how you show up to life will give you that feedback. So if you're stressed, clenching, blocked up, holding on, protecting, fighting, that's how life will feel like. Because it will operate on your fears, and fears always provide evidence. The evidence will always be tangible. Like a good persecutor in your court of law, there'll be a pile like this of evidence. Okay, so fear will be justified and will win in the court of law every day. So you have to recruit an advocate. You have to recruit a defense lawyer and might present some new evidence to this case. So we always start, the easiest place to start is the body. So this is a sequence that I will teach you, and I want you to take it home today and practice it every day. This is part of retraining, resetting your nervous system. So we did the first step, you change the state. You want to show up differently into your scenario, into your life, into your situation. This is how you show up. You start with the feet. Never have the feet too close together, because if the feet are too close together, bring the feet close. Is it okay if I touch you? I can come and just use a little trigger, just a little poke, and she will be out of balance. But if the feet are wider,
Can you move her to up there so
Yep.
the camera can see?
if the feet, как тебя зовут?
Ksenia.
Ксения. Приятно.
Очень интересно.
So if the feet are wider, the same stimulus, no, don't fall yet. Hold yourself. She's ready to fall. A little harder, right? But come back again, the way feet, try hard again to resist. So that makes all the difference in the world. Who looks at your feet? Did you ever look at your feet and see where they are? No one. Then you wonder why you get triggered so easily? So just a matter of changing, thank you, just a matter of changing the feet already creates more strength in your nervous system. Okay? So once you get the feet, and an easy way to remember is having a clock in front of your feet. The right foot should be at 1 o'clock, and the left foot should be at 11. 12 o'clock is right in the middle. And that aligns all the joints from the ankle to the knee to the hips to the shoulders together. So you're stacking yourself up properly now. Once you've done that, watch me first. You create a little sway. So I'm just lifting my heels and allow that momentum to run through you. I just do it once. Like a bamboo and a wind came through, right? And I just wait until I naturally want to stop. So watch what happens to this area when that happens, to my pelvis. So I'm waiting patiently. Don't be impatient. And once it stops, all I do is I just unclench. I just unclench my nerves. I just let them go. What happened in my pelvis? Anybody noticed? It went back. How many of you have been to a chiropractor or physiotherapist and they told you your pelvis is misaligned? Right? Oh, everyone, right? So this aligns your pelvis by simply learning how to unclench. So all the pressure from the hips, glutes, and the hamstrings relax. Once I've done that, I create a little bit of traction by just elongating my head as if I'm being pulled right by the crown. Now I want you to do it slowly because I want you to feel the spacing that creates in the neck. Yeah, do it slowly as if you're slowly being lifted up by a string. And in a way, relieving all the pressure in the nerves in the neck that come to the head. At the same time, from your sacrum, imagine a little rope with a weight coming down to the earth. And I want you to feel what that creates in your lower back. So allow that pelvis to drop as if there's a string with a weight on it. And feel that elongation from the crown. What does it do to your spine?
Curves it.
Also relax, opens it up. Lengthens it, right? Once you created that decompression on your spine, now focus on your vulnerable side, where you really hold all the tension. And it's always the front. This is where you're protecting, this is where you're managing, this is where you're storing. So you start with the jaw, I call it the lid of the pressure cooker, and you just unclench it. Yawn, do whatever it takes to relax it. Yes. Focus on the throat. Create a sound there, whatever it takes to relax that too, to open it up. Focus on your upper chest. Take the load off your chest. Now the heart. Make room for the heart. Breathe into the heart, make room. Diaphragm. Rib cage area, breathe into it. The abdomen. Deeply breathe into the abdomen. Lower abdomen, sexual organs, breathe right into there. Even the inner thighs, just unclench everything. Nothing needs protection anymore. Nothing needs managing. And once you relax your vulnerable aspect, now with your awareness, as if you had an elevator, bring yourself down to the center of your heart. Come down from the mind, close your eyes if it helps, and see yourself right in the center of the heart. And in front of you, there are 4 Japanese screen doors. You're going to slide one door, and every time you walk through one door, you bring yourself forward from the heart. So open one door, slide it open, and pull yourself forward, as if there's a string that is pulling you forward from the center of your heart. Slide another door, and pull yourself forward. Another one, and forward. And one more, and forward. Good. Slowly open your eyes. And I want you in a line, following her, walking around like a tiger, walking from the heart now with this new posture. Anybody wants to share? What was their experience like? Yep.
When I took theater arts and drama in high school, there was a principle that they said you can get emotion from the outside in or the inside out. So one of the things that I riffed off that, which is if you develop a physical posture of calm and power, you can actually reset your own brain. Like just walking like that, it's just like I'm telling myself I'm in control of the situation. So that's, and it's immediate. And you taught me to do this many, many years ago. And I thought I just want to say, as a woman, Mihael taught me to stand on both my feet. And that, most of the time we like this. I don't know if we're posturing because it makes our hip look nice or something. Mm-hmm. And I said, but if I stand like this, don't I look like really aggressive? Mm. He's like, no. And I was like, so I'd stand in front of the mirror looking at myself, and I'm like, I was taught this was aggressive. So I think that's interesting, but it must just be because it's power.
It's very common. Mm-hmm. It's very common because for the first 10 years of my practice, I had 80% of my clients were women. And women that have been traumatized. And at first, for 10 years, I thought it was me. Maybe they were coming to me because I experienced traumas when I was I'm attracted to the traumas. I believed that for 10 years. Until one day, I looked at the statistics in Canada. Because many of us, who's an immigrant here? Yep. Many of us, our families have come here, escaping whatever they needed to escape, thinking that it was safe. And we come here. So I assumed that Canada was very safe. And I was attracting all these women with trauma because it was me. But then one day I took the time, because Mihael is very curious and he wants to get right into the bottom of things. I said, let's look at the stats. What's going on here? So I always said numbers never lie. They don't tell the whole story, but they never lie. They tell some truth. So I looked at the numbers, and quickly I saw something that blew my mind. That the rates of trauma, and particularly for women in Canada, were one of the highest in the world. And actually, a country like Canada led the world in a study in post-traumatic stress disorder. And that was shocking to me, like many of you are shocked probably by now when hearing this, because I said, how is that possible? We were sold this story that it's safe over here. How, and my family escaped communism, barely, losing everything. Everything was taken away from them. Went to Israel thinking because we were Jewish, we'll be safe there. and everybody knows what's going on in the Middle East. And after 10 years there, my parents came to Canada thinking we'll be safe. And now I see a stat, Canada leads the world in post-traumatic stress disorder. I was shocked. So then I knew that it wasn't me, it was happening in this country here, right? And why Canada had more PTSD than everybody else? Because one of the things that I discovered was when you live in a society that tends to be more insular, if a trauma happened to her where both of us lived in Israel, she will have a tribe around her. Even if she wanted to be alone and didn't want to see anyone, they wouldn't let her. They will break the door down. But when something terrible happens here, we want to give them space. We don't want to bother them. We want to give them space. So in insular societies that have that as part of the infrastructure, post-traumatic stress disorder thrives. And now everybody's hearing about trauma now. I saw that coming 15 years ago, the epidemic of trauma. Now it's everywhere, right? So that brings me to another point. You know, we all experience traumas. They have their effects. And a lot of our traumas come from the people that love us the most. Family. Right? And many of us, and I see that over and over, almost on a daily basis, struggle with boundaries. Right? Who struggles with boundaries here? Now, this posture that I just taught you, this sequence that I just taught you, with the person that triggers you the most, that you can't get rid of, you know who that person is, instead of trying to make peace with a person, instead of trying to convince the person, instead of trying to avoid the person, instead of trying to negotiate with a person, just show up like this, like I showed you. Just with our posture, and notice what happens. Bring this tool into the relationship where you're constantly being triggered. Because what I've learned and what I teach is the one that triggers you the most is really not your enemy, it's your exercise partner. Because guess what? If you are triggered by that person, it doesn't matter if you live to the other side of the world, thinking that because you moved to New Zealand, this is solved, because guess what will happen? You will meet somebody exactly like that person that will continue to trigger you. And I've seen it over and over again. People move to the other side of the world, running away from their families and repeating the same scenarios in the place that they thought they'll be safe. This is the comedy of trauma, the theater of trauma, but it happens all the time. So at some point, once you're aware, once you become accountable, create an action. The action is this: you just show up like the tiger. And notice your posture when the one tries to trigger you. Or even when you show up to the space. Oh yeah, I'm coming back to my old self. But now I know how to correct. And now I'm going to show up like this, and I'm just going to observe. I'm just going to pay attention. What happens when I show up like this? What happens inside of me? What happens to the other person? What happens in the dynamics with time? So that's what I would suggest, is to look at the person, the antagonist in your life, to look at them as your training partner. Change the mindset, change the strategy, show up differently, and things will start to change. Because what you can control is you. You can't control the other. You can't control your mother, your father, your sister, your kids. Cannot. You're going to try your best, but you can't. So better control yourself, because that is within your control. So that's my suggestion. Now, when it comes to boundaries, we're going to do a little exercise. And we're going to hold space for each other. Is that okay with you? So I want you to choose a partner and say to them, I'm going to hold space for you today. Is that okay with you? So choose a partner. So I give you some time to introduce yourself, because we're going to get intimate. We're going to get intimate. We're going to get into each other's spaces. So we have to learn how to hold space. What does that mean? I mean, really what I do, a big part of what I do, and what I continue to do and develop, is learning how to hold space for whatever is happening. Whatever is happening. The more my container can hold, the more will happen in front of me. A person like a flower petal will start to open up and reveal completely themselves. The more you're able to hold that kind of space. Because I always say we have two inherent needs. We all have them. And that's to be seen and to be understood. And when those two needs are not met, it creates all the pain, frustration, and suffering for us. So learning how to see, I'm not just looking at you, I want to really see you, all of you, even whatever you don't show to anyone else. Why? Because I care. I care and I want to know. And I know that this could be an opportunity to heal, to change, to transform, to let go. So to hold space is to really see someone. All of them. Not what you want to see or what you don't want to see, but just presence. Presence, stillness. Heart. You can see with your heart. You don't only see it with your eyes. I can see you with my heart, not just with my eyes. And that can make all the difference in the world. Learning how to see someone from here. You can also see someone from here, from the abdomen. And you can experience them here, not just here. Okay, so learning how to experience someone. And that goes back to what we did with the senses. Remember? I asked you to shift your mindset and reorient yourself with your senses. Heighten them up. And that's how you pay attention. That's how you hold space. With all your senses involved. Okay? And non-judgmental. No judging. Not trying to fix. Not problem solving. Because as soon as I move to fixing someone, I don't really see all of you. The fixer in me sees you. People always come to me and say, can you fix me? That's why I always say you're not broken. You're just disorganized. Nothing is broken. We're gonna create some order. But they always say, "Can you fix me? When can you fix me?" You know, and if I assume the role is, that's why I don't even like the word therapist. I really, even though my diploma says that I'm a therapist, I don't like that word, because that means that there's something wrong with you. You know? So the way I work with people is not fixing, not judging. I assume that nothing is wrong with you. You're just lacking some tools. You're disorganized, and there's a little bit of chaos. Okay? So this exercise is quite powerful. And for some of you, it can be a big aha moment and a game changer for some of you. For some of you, it might be difficult. But I want you to exercise your courage and kind of dig deep for yourself and dig deeper for the other. Okay? Because we all need a witness. We all need a witness that can hold space for ourselves. When we go into those vulnerable parts that resides in us. Now, this exercise is also an opportunity for you to experience your boundaries. What are your boundaries like? Truthfully, tangibly, viscerally. What happens to your boundaries when you are triggered, when somebody is pushing them, or life comes and starts to flex its muscles on you? Okay? So we're going to do kind of a before, and then we're going to do an after. Once you will do it with each other, then I will give you a tool. And the tool, I call it a letting go tool. Because some of us don't know how to let go. We just don't know. But if we have a tool that we can use every day, we start to let go. We start to let go even in small increments. Not the big stuff yet, but slowly learning how to let go and developing a practice around it. And then the after will be, what happens when I let go? What happens to my boundaries? What changes in my boundaries when I let go? Okay? So let's face each other. And maybe, actually, what I would do is maybe I'll get a volunteer first. Who wants to volunteer? Who is going through a difficult times and is struggling with boundaries? And maybe we'll bring you a chair.
Here's a chair.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna say yes.
We'll bring another chair. Yeah, you can sit here.
Yeah, sure.
And your name is?
Leslie.
Leslie.
Nice
to meet you. Thank you.
Scarier on this side.
Don't be scared. I'm with you. Okay? Yeah. Facing them, yeah. Of course. Well, this is the most courageous person in the room. So please applaud to her. So we're going to need courage, but we also want to be curious. We want to be authentic and transparent. Okay? And just real. Okay? So this is what the exercise will look like. So you choose who is going to start. So in this case, I will start to demonstrate. And then I would say this. I will represent life and all the people that are in it, past and present. And what I will do what life and people do. I will put pressure on you. And you, with all your ability, is going to resist this pressure. And this is how we're going to do it. So this is our boundary line.
Okay.
And I'm going to try and cross it with my hands, and you don't let me.
Ah, okay, with my hands.
Yep.
Do I get a stick? sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, this way.
So once the hands meet, and again, look back at that list that we just created. You're going to operate from that list. Okay? So I'm going to apply some pressure. Initially very gentle, 10% of your strength. Okay? Very gentle. And as you feel this pressure, I want you to start to notice what happens in the body when you experience this pressure and where.
Do you want me to tell?
Yep.
Okay. It's like a central chest sort of zone.
Okay. Anywhere else?
A little zinging feeling everywhere, sort of.
And when you experience that chest sensation and the zinging, what happens then?
I sort of want to scream.
And where does the mind take you when you want to scream? Where does the mind go?
A big empty field where no one can hear me.
Okay. And when you go to that big empty field when no one can hear you, what happens then?
Better. Relaxed.
And when the pressure increases though, and people start to put more pressure on you and try and cross your boundary, what happens then?
I'm trying to find that tiger. Yeah, it's like this. Yeah,
It's
but
retracted.
in theory I could do this.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right?
So you want to retract, but
yeah.
you can also push.
Yeah.
And what happens when you push?
Also less pressure. Yeah. Yeah. But
Well,
I'm resisting. I'm
keep
resisting
pushing.
Locking all the way out. Like,
Why?
I
What
don't
will
know.
happen?
I don't know. I'm gonna do it for a sec.
Okay.
Oh, that feels just like a plank pose in yoga, like very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
And does it feel good or does it feel
A little shaky, but
a little shaky?
Yeah.
It's a lot of effort, a lot of shaking, right?
yeah.
So then if you retreat, what will happen?
Yeah, it's okay. It feels stronger. Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
But then, you know, people are like monkeys and they're going to be unpredictable. And they're going to put pressure from all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's going to come in different ways.
Yeah. That's like this feeling.
Which
okay.
is, what's that feeling?
Don't know where to look. Tempted to run away.
Good.
Yeah.
And when you want to run away, what happens then?
Like I kind of want to just, that
Collapse.
business? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is a little snapshot. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no.
So that's what I want you to do. It's just they give you the feedback. First start with the physical feedback. What are the sensations? Where are they? Because the body also reveals patterns. Right? So every time a boundary is being crossed with her, she feels this feeling in the chest, right? And then a zinging sensation, a whole nervous system gets alerted. So now she's getting to understand when she's being triggered or somebody is triggering her, what the trigger is and how it looks like, how it feels like. And then seeing what the mind does with it. Where does the mind want to go with it? It wants to go to this field where it's safe there. But then she's doubting. She's thinking, well, what if I push back? If I'm stay strong, if I'm in fighting mode, right? What will happen? So she tried that and she felt pain. And if anything, it made her more shaky. Right? So then she decided to retreat back. And all I had to do was just get the feedback and mirror that back to her with those gentle questions to guide her physically, mentally, and emotionally. Sounds good? Any questions? Yeah.
So this is to show us, this is to demonstrate
Yep.
how we can play with the boundaries.
Not
or
play
feel
yet.
where our boundaries are.
This is to demonstrate your boundaries.
But so
And what happens to them when you're under duress, people put pressure on you, life puts pressure on you. So to be truthful, to get a Polaroid shot of what happens to your boundaries,
what happens to your boundaries?
yeah, and how you show up when you're triggered.
But when you released, was that relinquishing the
When I released that, I didn't want to go further. She still wants to do the exercise, right? But we
Oh,
could have
okay.
gone.
That's what I'm wondering,
Yeah.
because I thought we were demonstrating that. Okay.
And when to end? That's a good question. When to end? When you got the picture, when the person got the picture of what happens to them physically, what the psychology does, what does the mind want to do, and what the emotions that are underneath all of it. Once they got that picture, this is the time to release, and you release very gently, not abruptly. Okay? As the one that is pushing the boundaries, bring yourself to that position of holding space, right? And again, you start by saying, I'm life and all the people that are in it, past and present, and I'm going to cross this boundary. Really tell them what you're going to do. And you're going to resist my hands from crossing these boundaries. And once our hands meet and you feel that pressure, start to scan the body. Where do I feel it in the body when I feel this pressure? Really take the time to examine what happens in the body and where. What are the sensations? And then from the physical sensations, once you take into account some of them, what does my mind do when I experience this physical sensation? Where does the mind take me? So there, the person has time to look at their thought patterns, especially when they're triggered under duress. The pattern, what does the mind wants to do when I experience the stress, this invasion of my boundary? And then what are the emotions that are underneath the sensations and the thoughts? Sometimes the emotions come up right away and the thoughts later, but you kind of want to guide them through the landscapes of physical sensations, thought patterns, and emotions. Any feedback? Any aha moments that you want to share? Any thoughts, any feedback? That'll be great.
Powerful.
Sorry?
It was powerful.
Good. Do you want to elaborate?
Well,
You don't have to.
I mean, I was just going to say, who knew that closing your eyes with somebody you don't know and the resistance and the movement would bring up so many visceral experiences?
100%. 100%. Everybody had those experiences?
I have, I even had the nauseous experience. I want to throw up. I want to vomit those people.
Good.
Try to push the boundaries in my life.
Good.
I want to throw up those people out of my life. Like I actually have.
They actually live inside of you.
Yeah, I actually want to throw them up from my life. The nauseous feeling.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and how many people feel nauseous at times? Right? You are like a memory stick and a library riding on a roller coaster that is out of control. Right? So you are a great storage facility. And the more sensitive, who calls themselves an empath here? Don't. Meaning, I joke a little bit, but it's not quite the joke. Meaning, some of us are so empathic and so sensitive, and we begin like that as kids, that a lot of what we store is not even ours. It's like if I told you, and I love using metaphors because metaphors are the language of the body. So if I told you that we stand by the window there, and instead of seeing that man, fear, we actually see you across the street, walking around, carrying a bag that weighs about 100 pounds. And you're carrying it for so many years, whatever age you are. And you're doing your best because you're a good manager and a good fighter and a great escape artist. But now you're starting to feel the weight. And you felt the weight when you did the exercise. It was very visceral, right? So me and you are looking outside that window and looking at yourself struggling, wondering when is it going to be better? When can I drop this weight? What would that look like? What would that feel like? What would you say? What would you say to yourself?
Surrender?
Drop it.
Yeah, anybody else?
Yeah.
You have a choice.
You have a choice, good. Anybody else?
You're allowed to, you are allowed to just drop it.
Good. But some of us don't allow. Right? Why don't we allow? That's one reason, yeah.
Familiar?
Very good.
Defense? Identity.
Very good.
Guilt.
Very good. Are you Jewish? Yes. Only a Jewish person can say guilt with such. But Italians too and Greeks, I mean, I've heard it all. Okay, good. Now, we're looking at yourself and you're saying all those nice things, and that's great. But now, what if I told you that in this bag that weighs about 100 pounds, you're carrying 100 potatoes, each one is a pound? Right? What if I told you that none of the potatoes are yours? What would you say?
Familiar.
What would you say?
I don't want to.
Why on earth am I carrying?
Thank you. Thank you.
I sell them.
Thank you. At least make some money out of it. So if none of them are yours, so why the hell am I carrying them for? And who can I sell it to? Right? What else would you say? Because the answers are always fascinating for me.
I'd say that's enough.
Good.
I'd say I don't believe you. They're my potatoes.
Okay. That's valid. That's valid.
What about saying sorry you felt like you had to pick these up? Like you could tell yourself, I'm sorry you felt like you had to pick these
Very
up.
good. Come over here. Come over here. Come over here, because that leads me.
Could you repeat what you said, because I couldn't hear?
Sorry that you felt you had to pick that up. Like to yourself. Like I'm sorry you felt like you had to carry that in the first place. Yeah.
So this is a perfect segue, and I'm so happy that she, out of all of you, said that. And it's not a coincidence, you know. But this is a perfect segue to the letting go part. Remember I said I'm going to take you through this boundary exercise, have you experience it, see the cost of this constant war with boundaries, and start to build a different boundary system. Okay, a different way of operating with boundary. And the biggest part is trust. Trust. Learning how to embody trust. The whole point of embodying the tigress is to give yourself an architecture to embody trust. Because if I am power, that comes with ease, that gives me all this freedom, that means that I trust. And how many of us lose trust? Or, even better, we trust with 100 conditions. I will only trust you if, when, and you fulfill those conditions. If you don't fulfill those conditions, forget. Forget it. Forget it. I will only love you if, when, and but you fulfill those conditions. I will only be your friend if, when, and but you fulfill those conditions. And guess what? Those conditions are never fulfilled. You're bound to have those conditions broken. So I want you to experience and to strive for, and this is what I do with myself all the time. This is also my daily practice. How to embody trust. That means that every fiber of your being is trust. And with this tool that we're going to do together, once you exercise these tools, we're going to do the boundary exercise again and see how it changes things. Okay? So this is what it looks like and sounds like. So I want you to place your left hand over the heart. Yes, a little lower so you don't miss it. Now, these words, when you're going to utter those words, they're not just words. They're something that you're going to input into the heart. Okay? Some of these words are going to be difficult for some of you. But this is where you must reclaim the parts of you that you lost. You've abandoned. Oh, they were taken hostage. So this is an opportunity to go in and take it back. Okay? So this is what it sounds like. I forgive myself unconditionally. Say it out loud.
I forgive myself unconditionally.
I forgive myself for the things that I've done and the things that I haven't done.
I forgive myself for the things I've done and for the things I have not done.
I forgive myself for the things that I've said and the things that I haven't said.
I forgive myself for the things I've said and for the things I haven't said.
I love myself.
I do love myself.
Say it like you...
I love myself.
Good. I promise
I promise
to care for myself.
to care for myself.
I promise
I promise
to protect myself,
to protect myself,
especially from myself.
especially from myself.
And I promise to nurture a deep relationship with myself.
And I promise to nurture a deep relationship with myself.
Now this next line, you're going to bring the I had enough energy. Okay? Really? Like really pick it up. Now all pain, darkness, negativity, and fear leave.
Let all the
Pain, darkness, negativity, and fear leave. Say it again.
Let all the pain, fear, darkness, and negativity leave.
Say it like you had enough of it, not like you are polite and nice to it. Banish it.
Banishing, letting go of darkness, negativity.
Now all pain, darkness, negativity, and fear leave.
Leave.
Don't be so nice.
This might take a minute. Let all the fear, darkness, pain, negativity leave.
I still don't believe you.
Yeah, I don't believe me either. Let all fear, pain, darkness, and negativity leave.
Get rid of those potatoes.
Put down the potatoes.
Yeah, let all
the
pain, darkness, and negativity leave. Say it again.
Let all pain, negativity, and darkness leave. I'm going to get quieter. Let all the pain, negativity, and darkness leave.
See, it's hard. Hard. It's hard. But I'm demanding her to reclaim her power. Because pain, darkness, and negativity and fear, they're like a good host. And sometimes we're too good of a host for pain, darkness, and negativity and fear. Okay? So take a few deep breaths. I know.
Yeah.
Hard, yes.
you want me to say it again?
No.
No, okay, good.
No, I don't want to strain you. You did enough. Now let's come back to the exercise. So I'm life and all the people that are in it, past and present. And I'm going to push your boundaries. And as you meet my hands, notice. Notice and use our first experience as a reference. And notice, and you can be honest with everyone here, if anything changes or nothing has changed or what changed or what's different.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel, solid.
Solid,
Yeah.
like a rock. I can feel it, right?
Yeah.
So as you maintain this feeling of being solid, really embody that. Recognize that it's not your imagination, it's just tangible, right? Now you're feeling this. What happens?
The previous few moments, I was thinking about how stuff wasn't my fault.
Mm-hmm.
More, like this is.
So your mindset has
Yeah,
changed. The
yeah.
thoughts are different.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that comes what?
You representing other people here in this exercise. I know that it's not about, this is solid more.
Good. Do you want to retreat to your
No.
field?
Yeah, no,
No?
I'm ready.
And even if I increase the pressure,
Yeah, I think my arms are wearing out, but it's yeah, I don't feel it. I don't feel the freak
out, the
yeah.
buzzing and
Yeah.
the nervous system, no.
No.
And even when it becomes unpredictable, what happens then?
I'm a little bit, just need to look around a little bit harder.
Okay.
Maybe more like the trust thing. If I trust me more, more than trust everybody else, blah blah blah, but also trust me more unconditionally.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you trust yourself
Yeah.
more,
I can follow this pattern. I can, even if it's over here or over there, maybe even both at the same time.
good.
Yeah.
And you maintain your solidity.
Yeah.
Good. And I've done this maybe 1,000 times. So,
the
yep.
person's posture will change because you're more stable if you're not just pushing with your forearms, right? Is that true?
Well, what changed is her ability to trust. And once she's experienced that ability, everything changes. Remember how I mentioned the metaphor, the queen and the army? And the army is so tired because the queen is sending the army to constant battles and wars. Now there's a reunion. Trust unifies every system in your body. When we use the word integration, what integrates it's a fancy word overused today, but really, tangibly, what integrates everything is trust. And trust and boundaries are like brother and sister, the yin and the yang. If your trust is low, your boundaries will be low. If you embody trust, your boundaries are solid, flexible, much more ease. Ease that comes with power, solidity. Okay? So that's what changes. Because when we learn how to let go, by unconditionally forgiving ourselves and reclaiming what we lost, we always lose parts of ourselves. So we lose our capacity to love also. And when we say, I love myself, you enhance that capacity. You get more of it. And then letting go is great. And coming back to love is amazing, but it means nothing. Absolutely nothing if there's no accountability behind it. And the accountability is based on those 3 promises. You following up on those 3 promises. Caring for self, protecting yourself not from others, but from the part of you that is not protecting you. Maybe some a period in your time you couldn't. You were vulnerable. When I was a child, I couldn't protect myself. I was traumatized. And because of it, my boundaries suffered all over the place. But the moment that I did this with myself is the moment that I reclaimed the parts that were left behind, held hostage by my traumas and picked up a little boy and said, I got you. Once I fulfill those 3 promises, I care for myself, I protect myself from the part of myself that hurts me, torments me, allows others to do it, and I nurture that relationship. And then making sure that I banish all pain, darkness, and negativity as quickly as possible. Because they exist, they will come. And that's what changes everything. Sometimes people with chronic pain, their pain goes away. I've had many, many times we've done this exercise, suddenly the pain that they came to me with is gone. Yeah. And that's how powerful trust is. And letting go. Okay? So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, don't feel bad, please. Do not feel bad, because we don't want to judge, we don't want to fix if nothing has changed. Just be honest, okay? Because maybe nothing changes today, maybe nothing that you can notice, but you put a deposit of change, you put a deposit of trust. It's like back to the numbers, back to the money. We all want to have a big trust fund. So this is like a deposit of trust, right? But if you don't go to the bank or the bank machine or to your financial advisor and put that money down, there's nothing. So every day put a deposit of trust. Even when you don't tangibly feel it yet, just continue. Continue. You're depositing quarters of trust. And eventually you'll have so much, it will change things, just like it changed today. It changed for most of you, right? Yes?
Yes.
Substantially or a little bit? So for some substantial, for some a little bit, play with those amounts. And that was just one experience, right? So now let's change the roles. Any feedback from the next group? So I noticed some people got quite emotional. Some people had aha moments. Some people, pains went away. So anybody wants to share?
I feel a lot clearer and stronger. I didn't follow all your words because I don't believe in all your words.
That's okay.
I question gurus all the time, right? So
Yes.
It's like in your kind of authority. So I just went with my understanding of trauma and the nervous system.
Sure.
And I feel clearer, like having thrown out a couple words,
Yeah.
keeping and not saying words that didn't work for me.
Okay.
But I feel like I can actually see wider because I listen to my body.
Good.
And I trust in myself.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And that's the gift that I want to leave with all of you, is to listen and to trust this body. Okay? Anybody else?
I felt ease and peace and no pain this time.
Good. Tracy?
When she was, so I was on the other side of it, when she was resisting the boundary, she actually started playing with me. Instead of being all locked up and stressed, she's like, oh yeah? Her hands start moving around and she's like laughing at me, just like totally holding the boundary, but with humor.
It's like becoming the Jedi. You go from a helpless lamb to a Jedi, you know. It can happen that quickly, and all of a sudden what seemed like a challenge is like a game.
Yeah, I felt the game because I have pushed harder and stronger. Felt I'm getting something.
So you gain some strength. And you?
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, the same. All that stuff, the mudslinging and flailing around, vanished completely.
Where did it go?
I don't know.
And let energy clear the space when they're done.
Yeah.
Good. So that's the power of trust. So you just experience trust. That's all it is.
But the expiation of the negativity in the dark is pretty powerful.
Well, if you lived in a house and you notice that it smelled, and I know you're very clean, so you wouldn't like that. And you're looking for the smell and you can't find it. And other people come in and they tell you it stinks. And you're getting frustrated. Now you're yelling at the other people and you're blaming them that something is wrong with them. And the whole time, the house is full of stench. But now, one day, with the help of Mihael, you're able to see it.
You're right.
And in a way, this is what we do. We have to clean house. And we have to develop regular practices of cleaning our house, of negativity, pain, fears. Because if we don't do it, they'll reside. So the first part, I forgive myself unconditionally for the things that I've done and the things that I haven't done, things that I've said and things that I haven't. That's the letting go. Nothing is more powerful than unconditional forgiveness. Who you must exercise that with is yourself first. You know the button on the computer that says delete? It's like a delete button. So that's the first part. But the most important part is coming back to your inner sanctuary, your heart, your essence. And enhance and imagine it to be like a temple with a glowing, powerful fire. And that is your essence and your love. And you must every day go back into there and claim more of it. And that will give you courage. Okay? And the last part, again, is exercising accountability. And being your advocate and your protector and your illuminator. Illuminating your shadow. Okay? And enough is enough. I want the stench out of my house. Just go. Leave. Yeah, reclaiming the healer that is inside of you. I am the master of this domain. You know? Any other feedback? How was it for you?
Different without so many eyes.
You allowed more, right?
Yeah.
Good.
And I like the idea of kind of like maybe today is darkness, but maybe tomorrow it's fear, or maybe like maybe just seeing how you feel that morning or whatever, and kind of listening first. Yeah.
Good. Good, beautiful. One last thing, some homework. Okay? You know, and when you come to someone like Tracy, one of the first things she does is she looks at all the numbers. She takes everything into account, right? And I call this exercise the cost-benefit analysis of your fears. Mm-hmm. So when you, again, take an opportunity to understand your fears and to illuminate yourself with your fears, instead of an enemy, it can become a vehicle of change. It can become a teacher, a doorway. Because whatever you want is on the other side of that door. And that door is fear. So at some point, if you really want that in your life, if you want that thing, if you want that, even the money, if you want that love, if you want that kind of life, you have to open some doors. And the doorkeeper is always fear. Okay? So you must, just as you are looking at your numbers, at your accounting, you must take stock of your fear. Why? Some people say, well, don't entertain your fears too much. But it's again, that fear response that we have to fear. But I have a different strategy. I want to entertain them. I want to understand them, and I want to see that tangible, the reality of it. And also both sides of reality, because reality is always two sides. And when it comes to fear in particular, fear will only allow you to see what it wants you to see. Fear will only allow you to see what it wants you to see. And it won't allow you to see, and today I'm going to reveal in a way the blind side of fear for you. So in order for us to dissolve the patterns of resistance, the patterns of pain, the patterns of habitual non-constructive behaviors, we must always illuminate the other side of fear. But first we must take into account, so far, tangibly, what's the cost of our fear? So name me one fear that you have. Anybody?
Failure.
Now fear is always a symptom. And it's a symptom of what? A belief. So what will be the belief
Things are out of control.
that makes this? I'm asking her. That's okay. If your fear is of failure, what would be the belief? I believe that.
Incapable of success.
So incapable, what would be another way of saying this? I'm not enough, right? Now, looking at this fear and this belief, how long has it been running inside of you? I'm asking her again.
Since I was a child.
Okay. What have been the consequences, in a way, the cost of this fear and this belief? I'm putting you on the spot, I know.
Yes. Going forward.
So it's preventing you from going forward, right? But what would past consequences do? What was the cost of this? What's the cost of this? Does it create frustration? Are you frustrated because of this?
A little bit.
Okay.
My expectations aren't that high right now.
Okay. Anybody share this fear? What are the
I
consequences?
think change, fear of the consequence would be change. Because you've been living with the fear.
No, that's your desire. But what have been
You
the
achieve your dream.
and what would that cause you? What's the cost of that? Thank you.
Which is hilarious because that's what you would have with your kids. Right? Hilarious.
Yeah, this is for all of us. This is for all of us. What else?
You cannot work out your potential.
So wait a second. When I'm sensing that I'm a failure, if I believe that I'm a failure, how does that make me feel?
Insecure.
Insecure, right?
Lack of trust in self.
And what's the cost of that? I mean, I can go on and on and on. You understand?
You're in a vortex.
Exactly.
And be paralyzed.
The cost keeps on accumulating with time. Okay?
Inability.
The cost only accumulates with time. It's like borrowing bad credit. There's interest on it. And as long as you are in this pattern, the cost only accumulates. Okay? Exactly. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to list the fear, recognize the belief that runs it, and write out the cost of that pattern in columns. Okay? Because that's the door, that's the wall that you bash in your head against. If you want to see it or don't want to see it, that's the wall, that's the battle that you bash in your head against. Okay?
The word that comes to me instead of cost that works for me better
Sure.
is loss.
Yeah.
Good.
So could I use,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
like what am I losing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for me it works that word cost because it's costing me. Life is a measurement. There's a cost that I'm accumulating. Okay? So once you have the fears, have the beliefs, have the cost, make sure that it's all there. Now the other side of fear. Okay? That's what's in front of you. That's what fear is showing you over and over again. That's what you're experiencing to justify that belief. And the fear is alive and well. It's like the person never leaves the window. It's always there. Right? So that's the trickery of fear. And again, the walls will become so thick that eventually we won't have the strength to break through. Because this demands a fight. This demands a tremendous effort that comes at a high cost, where you're going to lose a lot of your soldiers. And when you're going to retire, all the consequences will be felt. Okay? So I'm going to help you reveal the blind spot of fear. Who wants to be a volunteer? Who's brave enough to be a volunteer? Okay. Who wants to be a volunteer?
Me? Okay.
Come.
I'll be a volunteer. Voluntold, yeah.
You're brave.
What am I
So
doing?
let's turn around and face that wall. Okay? Now, see your fears there. Go through them quickly. So you mentioned that fear of not being, what was
You want me
it?
to say it out loud?
Yep.
Oh. A fear of not being loved.
Okay, one more.
Fear of failure.
And you seeing the beliefs that come with that?
Yep.
And you see the consequences, all the wounding that created, or the loss.
Yes,
or the
and
cost.
it's making me emotional, so let's not go on.
Okay. And you've been trying to break through it, right?
Absolutely.
There's no doubt. And I know there's no doubt you've been trying to break through it,
There is no doubt.
right? With all your might.
With all my might, Mihael.
So show me how you're trying to break through. Walk through.
Walk through?
Yeah, walk forward. But this is what you feel, right? Go again.
Yes, I do feel that.
This is what you feel. And go again.
I feel like a yo-yo.
Yeah, and go again.
Oh my God, I'm getting frustrated and I'm
And go
very
again.
impatient with myself. Are you letting me go?
No, wait.
Oh.
So the hand that keeps on bringing her back, no matter how hard she tries, it's the blind spot. The evidence of fear is there to be seen, but the hand is the blind spot. What is the blind spot? Ready? It's the way that she benefits from those fears.
Oh, no.
So it's like you walking forward and feeling this hand and not knowing what the hell is going on here. I'm trying. Why is it not working? But then suddenly you look back and you see the hand. So this is what I ask you to do, is to write down the way that you benefit from those fears.
I don't know how I I'm benefiting from those fears. But I guess I have to invite fear to my table and
Yes.
talk to it.
Yes. So the blind spot of fear in the way that I'm asking you to do it is always the way a part of us is benefiting.
Did you say blind spot or?
So it's our benefits that really hold us back. It's not our fears. And that's a mind bender. And the only way to see it clearly is to be honest with yourself. And if you're courageous enough to be honest and start revealing the ways that you're benefiting from those fears, you found your blind spots. So then if you are a judge and you put in all this stack of fears and the cost of it or the loss on the scales of justice, because there's a part of us that is always acting like a judge, a persecutor, a victim, and now you're recruited an advocate. And the advocate comes to the court of law and says, wait, I found some new evidence. Here, I'll put them on this scale. These are the ways that you benefit. Well, part of you is benefiting. So the scales, what will happen to the scale? What's heavier? The consequences or the benefits? The consequences, always greater. And once you start to list your consequences, you're going to see how great it is. But if I tell you that the benefits are really holding you back, what would you do as a judge? And also, as one that is being persecuted, now you're seeing this other side, what would you do? You'll be mad. No? And I want you to get mad. And I want you to specifically tap into intolerance. Intolerance. Bring intolerance against the ways that you benefit. Instead of focusing on all the fears and all the beliefs that you might have and the whole story that comes with it, just bring intolerance to this part of you that is benefiting. And make sure that you put it somewhere that you can see it, because this exercise won't mean anything if you just write it down and put it on a shelf. I want you to post it up so you're constantly aware of this scenario. And this is how I'm going to end the workshop.
Wow.
Do you have time for a couple
Yeah.
questions? Because it looked like there was a quick
Yeah.
question there.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask a quick one in terms of just a few specifics on the benefits. Like,
Yep. So,
besides sort of maybe some people might identify as a victim or something, and then that holds something for them.
for example, if I have a fear
Yes.
of success, right? And I believe that I'm not good enough. But now I chose to sit down and expose the cost, right? Or the loss of that. Time is running. Interest rate is going up. I'm feeling this. I'm experiencing this. But now all of a sudden I see that another side of me, the sneaky part, says that convinces me to stay right here because it's safe. I don't have to try so it's hard. My life is simpler this way. Why bother? But then I put those benefits and I stack them up against the losses. This is gut-wrenching sometimes, to really sit honestly with yourself in this way. Yep.
Can I ask for your thoughts on accountability is important, but there's some things that happen to you that really truly have nothing to do with you.
Absolutely.
So like, where does accountability fall in those like when you're working on those situations?
Very good question. You know, most of the people that come to me, things have happened to them that completely were not their fault. And this is the way my own path started. I was a kid, things happened to me, it wasn't my fault. And then the danger with that is we adapt and we create a personality, all around it, that it's not my fault. And in our court of law, we're always right. And there's plenty of evidence to provide it. But at the end of the day, who cares if you're right? In the court of law, I'm not caring about what happened. But in your narrative, where you want justice, we all want justice. We all want vindication. We all want that one to come and say, I'm so sorry that I did that to you. I apologize. I didn't know better. But we can wait. I have some people that come to me and they say to me in this words, and I've had many of them, I cannot wait until my mother or my father die. All kinds of people. They'll say exactly, and they'll always look sideways as if there's other people in the room when they say it. But they say this because they're hoping that when the tormentor dies, when the source of their pain dies, this pain will go away with it. But that's not the truth.
Yeah, so just irrelevant of the situation, what can you do with it kind of thing,
Yeah. Your pain, I always say when I teach therapists, I start by saying in the workshop, trauma is necessary. Now some people don't like this idea, but again, trauma has been with us from the beginning of times and will always be there. And I believe in what I've seen from my own journey and walking with thousands of people, that there's, instead of focusing on the why it happened to me, and it's not my fault, if you can use that pain, you can use it to transform yourself. That is the purpose of trauma. Because what comes out on the other side is usually purpose, a better version of you, a much more enhanced human being, I believe, a much more sensitive and powerful human being. And that's a gift to you and a gift to everyone around you. Yeah.
I will add in here that I'll disagree with you that not knowing the root isn't important, because we live in a world that is very patriarchal, and me, having become a feminist, and that's not just some little flaky identity, but it's something very, very powerful that has been built, and I have built over years of studying patriarchy. So in this study, I know why what happened. There is a large lens that allows me to know why what happened. That lens has saved me. That lens has been my map. It has been what I needed on top, alongside the understanding that trauma comes from abuse. That's where trauma comes from. So it's like, I agree with you that trauma is necessary because it is the symptoms, it's what's happening in our body because of the circumstance, the abuse that happened. So it's like, I love my body, I honor the trauma that is there, but I also have a much wider lens. The why is very significant, and particularly significant for women, and I will say that.
I didn't say that the why is not significant.
You actually did say the why, you did say something like that. You said the why is not important. What's important is that we go with, we work with it, right?
Yeah, what's important is to understand and then to heal it. That's what's important. At the end of the day, people want to heal.
Which is the why. Yeah.
Okay.
Mihael?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing your gifts of wisdom and experience to us. Thank you for showing us that there is yet another way, that we can, another avenue that we can take to get to the places that we really want to go to, and for helping us know when we actually may not want to go there.
Yes.
I like that as well. I always believe there's a way to get to where we want to go. And each one of us is decoding that as we go through life. Every tool, every conversation, every new experience. I love Mihail's approach because it brings in our body. When we were working and doing I can't believe how much my arms were hurting at the beginning to push back. And I can't believe how much less effort there was the second time. Just even that visceral experience to carry along with when we posture ourselves in a way that's more productive, more constructive, more loving to ourselves, where we can get to, what we can do and how we can do it, and that we can do it so much more magnificently. I want to thank all of you for coming, for creating a community for each other, for being safe with one another, for being so caring with each other, that I always feel like first I was worried we were going to deposit stuff in here. I was going to have to go around with my gong. Sometimes I have to go around with my gong and clear, but that's not what's being deposited. What's being deposited are your hopes, your constructive actions, and most importantly, your bravery, your courage to want to be a better version, to want to even just love the version that you are of yourself. And every time we become that, we change the world, is my belief. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of Sophia. Thank you for
thank you
enriching
for being
the world
courageous,
and for being such courageous humans.
Thank you.